Demolished or damaged at least 25 businesses, burned down public buildings, and threw bricks at police officers, which your police officers won't stand for, and they didn't stand for it. These are not acts of peaceful protest, but really domestic terror.
That's President Trump in Kenosha this week. My next guest went away for a month and can't believe how much more polarized the country has become in a few short weeks. Host of the Rubin Report, Dave Rubin, joins me now with a reaction to that and more. All right, David, first question. Where were you for a month?
Judge, I was in an undisclosed location, but I will tell you this much. Last time I spoke to you, which was a little over a month ago, I was considering leaving LA, and as many of my friends have left. But I did decide to at least stay here, because if some good, decent people can't stay in Los Angeles, can't stay in California, then the polarization really will have reached a point where we're living in two different countries. So I'm going to stay and fight here. Look, there were old school Reagan conservatives a long time ago, and I think there's a chance we can start bringing them back. So we'll see.
Well, hope springs eternal. But let me ask you, how, when you were off the grid, wherever that was, and you came back, I mean, did you expect things to be different in the country?
Well, you know, it's funny. Everywhere that I went, when someone would come up to me, people would say, well, first, they can't believe that I do this, that I have no phone, no news, no information, no current events, no nothing. And then the second thing they would say is, oh, it's so much worse. You're not going to believe what happened. And look, a lot of things happened, and we know about the riots and the protests and everything else. But what I'm concerned about, and the reason that I do this off-the-grid thing, I've done it for 4 years now, a whole month in August, is that it gives you a little perspective that I think sometimes for people like us that are in the news cycle all the time and we love this stuff, but you know, you end up reacting to everything instead of getting a little distance from it. And what I've noticed is, just being back a few days here, is that it really does seem like there's a war on reality right now, because a certain set of the population, people that don't watch your show or don't watch my show, they don't believe what President Trump was just talking about. They don't get to see the videos, the violent videos of the rioters and the protesters attacking people and stopping cars on the street and burning down buildings, because they're not showing it on the other networks. And what I'm worried about is, if, depending on what channel you watch or what YouTube show you watch or what the algorithm's giving you, we're going to end up living in two countries, not just geographically, as I talked about before, whether you're in California or New York, but sort of intellectually and philosophically, if your information is just catered to make you think one thing or the other.
Well, you know, the sad part about that is that people are so committed now to listening to one source for their news or another, and you know, they're not interested in looking at the other channel or the other station or the other, you know, whatever the URL might be, and that doesn't make for you know, country coming together. But in terms of the election, there are 59 days, Dave, before the election, and a lot of talk while you've been gone about the mail-in votes and all that. You know, the people that are dug in right now are dug in. There is that small group in the middle who will, I believe, decide this election. What's your sense about what's going to be happening?
Yeah, well, it's a great question, and I'll tell you this. I actually think that the small group isn't as small as you might think. I actually think most people, maybe not most, but I'd say a good chunk, say 30%, could still probably be swayed one way or the other. And I think what's going to happen is, if you're the average person and you're watching your business burn or your local restaurant not open or the rest of the nonsense that we're seeing, and statues being torn down and general mayhem, if your choice is Donald Trump, who you may not like for whatever reason, you don't like the way he tweets, whatever it is, but if your choice is, oh, he's going to bring law and order, or the other side, Joe Biden, as your previous guest was just saying, Joe Biden is now being led basically by the worst elements of the progressive movement, and in essence, they're the foot soldiers for the Democrats at this point. If the choice is law and order and some semblance of loving America and the country that we've all known for 240 years, or that, I think that 30% is going to break very hard to Trump. That's not going to show up in the polls because they won't say it in the polls, but I think it'll show up in November.
Right. Dave Rubin, thanks for coming back, and we'll be right back.